Hello everyone and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. I'm back at my holidays. I had to make a little break for work. Yeah, but I'm back in holiday period and a lot of things have happened, so I'll try to cover everything on today's video. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel, so thank you very much for your support. Now, of course, we had the debate happening. I will cover that a little bit later because I will intertwine it with crypto. Looking at the markets, you see the ECB just cut rates again. So their base rate is now 3.5% versus the Fed's fund rate, for example, of 5.25. The US is the last one standing before rate cuts, which I believe will happen next week. Now, the big question seems to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points. I think 25 basis points will be the chosen one, and I hope it is. If you actually look in the past, the difference between stock market returns before and after rate cuts, if you compare it 25 basis points first cut or 50 has an average negative return of 20-something%, and 25 basis points has a positive average return of 11%. The issue is, most people say, no, but 50 basis points would be great, right? No, it would be signaling a much worse recession than people believe, which means you would have an aggressive price correction, to basically start to price in a much worse recession than expected. Of course, the oil price is now at $67, and it's signaling weaker economies across the globe, and that's why usually the oil price is a good benchmark for these things. It's funny, about a year and a half ago or so, you guys may recall this. Some of my older followers. What am I saying? Sorry, not 1 year and a half ago, about 10 months or 9 months ago. Oil prices were recovering. Remember that? We were at above 90 at some point. And then there was this CNBC article saying that all the traders were expecting oil above $100. And I came here and they said, oh, by the way, that's the top. Because if everyone is expecting $100, that means everyone is positioned for $100, which means there is no one left to buy. Guess what? That was the top, and it's still the top today after 10 months. Something that I actually stopped kind of following so closely. But this is just a perfect example of what I mean. When people expect certain things, they get baked into the cake. And when you see those kind of stuff, that means that everybody's ready to sell because everyone is positioned already. They won't come out and say, we are expecting $100 price without securing their position first. Key, very important. Now, when interest rates move, obviously the Russell 2000 is the most impacted index. Why is that the case? Well, simple. The Fed funds rate influences the most short-term rates. Now, Russell 2000 is filled with garbage stocks. These are the shit coins of stocks, if you will. And that means that most of them cannot secure long-term financing. They can secure short-term financing, which means they eat the bulk of the interest rates going higher than, for example, an Apple or a Microsoft or an ExxonMobil or companies of that nature. And because they represent closer the real economy, which is in complete toilet, that's why it underperforms the market. Now, why did I expect Russell to outperform other indices maybe in 2024? The reason was I thought that the rate cuts would start much earlier, and by that thought process, then the Russell is the biggest beneficiary of it, so I would expect the Russell to step up. I do expect eventually that the Russell will probably do quite well as the rate cuts come lower and lower. Now, we are in possession of very good information here, which is the Fed will keep on cutting rates much further than any people expect. You see, people actually expect still today that somehow the stock market, what am I saying? That the Fed will not cut rates that much. We don't need to, right? There's no recession, there's no problems. Why should we do it? Once again, You guys know it. You've been following this channel. Most of the Western world, particularly the Western world, also China, it's so filled with debt that it cannot take high interest rates on that debt. And when I say debt, I'm not just talking about the federal national debt. I'm talking about federal, state, municipality, unfunded liabilities, like Social Security and pensions, and then private debt. Private debt tends to be much bigger than public or government debt, which means, on average by each country, if the public debt is X, then private debt tends to be 3 times as larger. So it's just not possible. So we need interest rates to be low. I don't care what people say. It will surprise everybody. And the funniest thing is, for example, now you have another example. The ECB has been cutting rates for a while now. What is inflation doing? Coming down. Who said that was going to happen? Here in this channel, we talked about it. They had nothing to do. Interest rates have nothing to do. High interest rates do nothing to stop inflation. Actually make it worse. Because high interest rates are the price of money. Cost of money. If that cost goes up, the companies just pass it on. PPI in the US came out 1.7%. Once again, once you start cutting rates, you'll see that the inflation numbers will keep on going down, and it will surprise everybody, because everybody will expect the destruction of the currency versus real things, and it doesn't happen. The inflation goes into assets, which are things that we must own in order to survive the currency debasement, which means asset price inflation and not consumer price inflation. Now, I do believe the economy, particularly in the US, is still garbage. The indicators, nowadays you cannot trust any data coming from the US. And the proof of it is very simple. Forget about parties. There's nothing to do with parties here. It's just that we get a report, the previous one gets revised. We get a report, the previous one gets revised. So for example, if you're looking at the September report, you already know it means nothing because the October report will revise the September report, and so on and so forth. However, what matters is the market trades these reports, and the reports become important because the market deems it important. Not because they are actually in real people's lives important, but it affects how the market behaves. Now, the debate. Kamala did much better than people expected. I agree with that. I think I was very disappointed with Trump in the sense of he fell for every single bait possible. I do recognize that at some point he was debating the moderator, which is completely unacceptable, but you kind of knew that going in. What I struggle to deal with this here is he just needs to hammer policy, track record, results. Why aren't you doing all these marvelous things, and why haven't you done them if you've been in office for 3.5 years? Very simple. Everybody understands. The option is, do you like censorship? Do you like high crime? Do you like uncontrolled immigration? Do you like high inflation? Do you like weaponization of the legal system against political opponents, dictatorship style? Do you like those kind of things? Do you like record number of people getting second and third jobs, high inflation? If you like that, you vote for her. If you don't, you don't vote for her. It's really that simple. There's no point in complicating any of this. Yeah. And by the way, she was talking about illegal immigrants getting a path to citizenship. I've told you this before. That's the plan. Let as many people in as possible, then come up with a path to citizenship to make sure that those people will be so grateful to you that they will vote for you. If that destroys the country, if that puts a lot of pressure in communities, if that puts a lot of pressure in hospitals, for example, because you didn't multiply your doctors by 1,000, that's not a problem for them. As long as they vote for you, that's all that matters. If we destroy the country in the process, that's not my concern. Unfortunately, this is the way it is right now. Now, if Trump just focuses on policy and completely forgets about anything else, I think we'll do very well. If he doesn't, if he falls for every trap and bait out there, then he's going to make his life much worse. It's really that simple. Now, what have I said about crypto? Now, you see, this is the part in which, if you guys been following my channel, my position has not changed. What have I said before? Crypto will do very well with either candidate. Why? Because it tracks liquidity cycles. Liquidity will explode with any of them, and crypto will do just fine in the global scale. Is it bad for the US if she wins? Yes. Why? Because the US will not be a leader in the space, and the Americans will probably lose things like self-custody and will probably be disincentivized from being in crypto that much. So for the Americans, it's much worse. For the rest of the world, not so much. The innovation will just shift elsewhere on the planet. What else? Is the cycle going to be different with Kamala Harris? In the sense of having a bull market? No. With Trump, you have a potential for a super cycle, and you have a potential for basically the crypto cycle on steroids, 2017 kind of style. If you get her, you probably get a bull market 2021 kind of style. People forget that since Bitcoin has been created, we had 12 years, no, we had, let me think, 2008 to 2024, that's 16 years. Out of those 16 years, 12 were Democrats, 4 were Republicans. Crypto did just fine. It's fine, but what I'm trying to say is, obviously with him, you have a cycle on steroids. Why? Well, because then you have a full-fledged regulatory support, you have an incentive for innovation in the US, and you have basically, potentially even some of the largest government or the largest country in terms of economic power still buying coins, right? Or at least not selling them. So in that sense, yes, it is the cycle on steroids. So what you're fighting here, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, is will you get a cycle on steroids or will you get a more normal cycle, let's say. So that is really the question here. Not so much so bad for the US. By the way, it's good to see that Pulse-chain ecosystem is gaining life. We've had a lot of time to DCA, which I've done repeatedly. As I've said, these are my retirement coins. I don't care. I love them, or I think they're very good right now. If the price goes up, I think they're very good. If the price goes down, I think they continue to be very good. For most people, it means if you have a lot of green candles, it's a great project. If you have a red candles, it's a terrible project. No, it's the same project. It's just a different valuation that is given by people on the market. I think Pulse Chain continues to have very good, very good, how to say, future. I think ahead of it, I think it will do just fine. Either on Pulse Chain, either on PLS, ICOSA, PLSXX are my core coins, as I mentioned before. Then I do have the lottery tickets, which includes PDI, by the way. And the narrative of going to $1. Maybe it goes, maybe it doesn't. We've been seeing some bridging of millions of dollars into Pulse Chain, and also with the new updates, you have a much more stable environment for stable coins, and with much lower slippage, which is crucial for whales to be willing to move in. So in summary, disappointing performance by Trump. I think he could have sealed the election, but he didn't. I'm not sure if he's going to do a new debate or not. Apparently he's saying not. I hope he reconsiders and does one. I just also hope that we have some sort of basic interviewee, basic, moderator. I mean, even CNN between Biden and Trump did much better than what we've seen. However, he did fall for every single bait. And once again, if he hammers policy, track record, results, and asking the question, why haven't you done nothing throughout this time period? I think he will do fine. If he keeps on falling for every bait, like crowd sizes and what have you, then worse for him. As I've said, I'm not in the US. I do appreciate, and I'm going to make here a prediction, by the way. If she wins, you can write this one, you can clip this one, then we'll see if I'm right. If she wins, sometime in her mandate, there will be a new conflict between a new of these conflicts, right, that you've seen in Europe and the Middle East, and that will be between Iran and the US. You can clip this one, and we'll see if that happens throughout the time period of her presidency if she wins. We'll see. And with that, thank you very much for your support. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.